it's definitely something that comes up a lot in non-monogamy, transitioning relationships and starting something new while something else is evolving, or falling away. And like you said, holding the grief and then the new relationship energy at the same time.
Yes, at the same time, like,
That's a lot of energy to be holding in lots of different varieties.
yeah. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Queer Relationships, Queer Joy.
Happy to have you back. And today you have just got Keely and I talking at you.
Yes. We're gonna give some updates. And the main thing we're gonna talk about is relationship transitions. And
Yeah.
oof, I will say my theme of life, I do like the both ands.
Mhm.
So this topic of relationship transitions, talking about holding two similarly opposing things or holding two very different emotions. Oof.
At the
And
same time as both
yes,
potentially true and valid and
yes,
present.
yes.
Ah.
But we're gonna start with the updates. Melissa, what is going on in your life and what do you want to update listeners and viewers?
For anyone actually watching, I look like all excited, like I've got some really juicy updates and not really, sorry. Psych out. I'm doing well. I'm loving fall. I've said that before. I'm obsessed with this season. I realize this is my third fall living here in Portland and it's the first, I know, like crazy, and it's the first time I'm actually going out and doing things in the fall. So I've been to 3 corn mazes.
Wow.
I'm obsessed. Um, yeah, so really taking full advantage, but relationships are continuing to go smoothly for me. I would say I have 2 active relationships, one that is a local in town person and one who is not local, but been able to do some like FaceTiming and getting to spend some, quality moments with my other, I don't know what to call him, the person I'm dating who doesn't live here. It just feels like a mouthful. So things are going well. I think everything is gonna keep evolving both in my personal life and in my relationships, so just embracing a lot of really good communication right now across the board with partners, and I think part of it is I feel expectation less right now in both of my relationships, and it feels really good. I feel very present with what's happening now. I don't feel like I have a ton of, and I'll clarify in this moment. I
In
sometimes
this
I have
exact moment.
expectations. Yeah, right. Like, catch me tomorrow. We'll see. Right now, I'm feeling, I think because I feel very settled in my own self, in my own life, in my identity, in my community here in Portland right now, I'm just enjoying what's present for me without a lot of expectation about where it must go, where it needs to go.
Mm, wonderful.
I do need to work on getting a passport so that I can travel and see the person who doesn't live here.
Do that as soon as you can because I hear that it's taking forever.
I
It's
know, I
a
know,
long.
and the annoying thing is I have one that's valid technically, but it's from my married last name, so add that to the list of things you have to do when you get divorced.
I don't even know where to start fully and how much detail or not detail I want to give for an update. That one update, I may talk about this update more next week or in a couple weeks though, because basically, person who I'd had a dating relationship with for about 9 months, they left this summer on a contract to the Midwest. Well, they are back in town.
I'm excited for this update.
Yeah, TBD because they got back just in time for rain and snow
Mhm.
uh this weekend. And so we are meeting up tomorrow. So more information on that to come. And then I officially now am dating a human who, yeah, we're saying we're not dating. It's more than just hanging out or going on dates. So we are actually dating non-monogamously. They'll be a part of my queer joy at the end, fun times. And we are consciously going very slow.
Mhm. That
But
doesn't sound very queer, Akili.
no, we're laughing and people are asking us like, what? And the way I can frame it is comparing to others. I have other humans, other people that I am in relationship with in some situationship with sexually and or romantically. who have people that they're dating, and I'm watching them just go full speed ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
I met this person in very similar timing to these other two people, and they're just full speed ahead dynamics. And I'm like, whoa. And I notice, and this will be I'm kind of foreshadowing for another topic we're gonna have, but I'm noticing almost like doubting if we like, or we're both doubting how much we like each other because we're going so slow,
Ah, uh-huh.
but it feels really good. And I have been doing some reading around like love addiction and codependency and all that stuff. And folks that are used to like love bombing and how we see what love is quote unquote supposed to be like in our culture and our society. And not just cis hetero. I mean, we see it in L Word. We see it in the queer movies right now. There is more representation than there was 5 years ago. And we still see this dynamic of this like big productions and it's supposed to be fireworks. And those are great. But we're finding is those aren't usually the sustainable relationships. So
Yeah.
foreshadowing for next week or 2 weeks from now.
We should also introduce ourselves before we
Yes.
get too far into the
Well,
topic.
so Melissa, you introduce yourself first because I've been blabbing.
I'm Melissa DeSegrant, and I'm licensed as a marriage and family therapist and a professional counselor. I work at Connective Therapy Collective in Portland, Oregon. I'm a white person. I am bisexual. I am able-bodied, polyamorous. I am gender fluid. I use she and they pronouns.
My name is Keely C. Helmick. I am a licensed professional counselor, sex therapist. I am white, non-binary, STEM presenting, solo poly currently, still recovering from my injury. Maybe one day we'll do a topic about that. Definitely a very interesting experience, sex and dating and injuries. Yeah. So what spurred this thought, and then it has come to fruition. I was in a situationship with somebody who I had been off and on dating for like 5 years, and came to find out on the anniversary of the day that I found out about my ex a year ago. Rewind to our first season if you want to hear that story about an ex. Find out in a very not fun way who the person they're dating is. Because this situationship, this non-monogamous dating situationship had been don't ask, don't tell. And they had forwarded me their itinerary for a trip. And I saw the email of the person. And guess what? They're another therapist. And I know them. And we're Facebook friends.
Small community.
Oof. And so like it hit. I didn't like how I found out, but we had a really lovely conversation about it. Fast forward to now, and we are transitioning our dynamic, and they have decided to be in a monogamous romantic and sexual relationship with this person.
Mhm.
And so they broke up our sexual romantic relationship dynamic, and we're exploring what it would mean to be friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
And holding that grief and sadness
Mhm.
while hanging out with a new person.
Yeah. And I don't think this is an exclusive experience to, well, certainly not to the queer community, certainly not to non-monogamy, but it's definitely something that comes up a lot in non-monogamy, transitioning relationships and starting something new while something else is evolving, or falling away. And like you said, holding the grief, and then the new relationship energy at the same time.
Yes, at the same time, like,
That's a lot of energy to be holding in lots of different varieties.
yeah, it really is. Well, and I want to slow down a minute because I know I can talk really fast and also reflect on this time of the year as we're talking about this topic, that this is a very transitional time of year.
Yeah.
And so within that, it gives a lot of knowledge. We can take knowledge from the earth and from how our bodies and how animals come to this place of transition. And when we're reflecting on transitions of relationships, we can have that as a source of connection and a source of the continuance of growth and change. I also know that we're going in at this moment, it won't be when people are necessarily listening to this, but this is going into Scorpio season.
Mhm.
And Scorpio season is really about a piece, there is a piece of death in it, but like really intense. And with death, as we know, is always that opportunity of new beginnings. Like death doesn't reflect, it's part of the cycle.
Yeah, the death and rebirth. And that's exactly what we're talking about today.
Yeah. So, I mean, what comes up for you? I already talked a lot. I mean, we'll go back and forth, but
You're like, please share some. No, as soon as you started talking about this concept, and it was a couple weeks ago, Keely, I think we started talking about it, it hit home for me. And the first thing I thought about was my experience going through the end of my relationship with my ex-husband
Mhm.
while starting new relationships. And I should say relationship in particular, because there was a kind of a already formed relationship that was there, but I did start a brand new relationship as the divorce was happening. And it oh god, it for me, I don't know, I mean, the like, just strange out of body experience, and part of that was, thinking about some of these well, some, if not all of these relationship endings, they're traumas. The impact on my system, I was in a trauma response, I would say from September of 2020, probably until February of 2021. Certainly, the depression and things lasted longer than that. But while I was in a trauma response, a grief response, also experiencing excitement and potential and new relationship energy, it, like I said before, it takes a lot of energy to sustain both of those experiences. I mean, my therapist brain comes online and I'm like, okay, basic needs. Are people sleeping?
Yeah.
Are you drinking enough water? Are you eating? Like, we really need to feed our systems and nourish our systems to hold this kind of a dual experience.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that when you say that, Melissa, I think about many people have this bodily reaction that it's similar in both grief and sadness and in NRE, new relationship
Mhm.
energy, of not having a big appetite,
Yeah.
of being a little consumed or a lot consumed by what's going on, and having this extra energy and some difficult sleeping or sleep interruption.
Yeah.
So I think there is a commonality in this that is really speaks to being especially aware of basic needs, and that can help the experience go, I don't know if smoothly is the right word, but allows us to incorporate it in our bodies, allows us to integrate it.
Yeah.
Because these experiences can feel like trauma. And when we move through them and are able to process them and integrate them, that's when we move into the next phase in a way that is more healthy in our systems.
Yeah.
And I do want to note, yes, we're definitely, this happens in monogamy as well as non-monogamy. I probably said this before, but there's this idea that when you end a relationship, a sexual romantic relationship, you're supposed to take this like certain amount of time to be with yourself
Right.
before jumping into a new relationship. And that's such a monogamous centered way of thinking that doesn't really jive for a lot of non-monogamous folks, because you're already in relationships sometimes. A lot of
Right.
times you're already in relationships with multiple people.
Yeah. I was thinking from the monogamous, like, vocabulary, rebound? I don't hear poly
Oh,
people talking about rebounding as much as I hear monogamous people talking
no.
about that, using that word.
Yeah, for sure, for
And there's a
sure.
lot of stigma about that. I mean, certainly there's the people who would be like, "Yeah, I'd love to be a rebound, whatever." And I think what they what they mean when they say that playfully is like, "Cool, no strings attached, just sex." Like, that's kind of the assumption.
Yeah.
Um, but in terms of building a relationship that's maybe a more of an attachment based or romantic, there can be this idea that, yeah, you can't find that right after or while you're going through a breakup. So people will say, I don't want to be their rebound, meaning I want something more. And like, why can't that more also be there, even though there is a transition happening?
Yeah. Grief in general is this really beautifully sad opportunity that brings us right into the presence. Birth and death bring us just right to the present, is such an opportunity to be present.
Mhm.
And so when I think about balancing or having these really intense experiences going on at once, is that really being present with the one and then with the other. And
Yeah.
so creating space or allowing space that is for the grief or for the relationship transition with the person who you're transitioning with, whether it's from romantic and sexual to friendship or romantic and sexual to no contact or not having a relationship with that person anymore. And then having that newer person who you're developing sexual and romantic relationship with.
Yeah. Yeah, it's almost like a healthy compartmentalization you're talking about,
Yeah.
but I like the reframe of it being less thinking about the compartmentalizing and more thinking about just being present. I mean, shoot, that's what we do in non-monogamy anyway. Like when we are
Yeah.
with a partner, we are present with hopefully.
Yes.
I'm gonna advocate that you all are present with the person you're with. And I think it's a great way in this context to
That's your
honor.
fantasy. Y'all can play it fantasy. Another topic, another day.
Right, yeah, exactly, yeah. But I think that's a beautiful way of honoring both experiences and not having to, like, for example, like, rush through grief and getting over that so we can move on. Like, no, we get to honor that process, and to your point, when we're with someone new, we get to embrace the joy that comes with that too.
Hey, it's Cardinal, your behind the scenes buddy. I've got exciting news. Our podcast cover art will be changing. Ah! It's probably more exciting for me than it is for you, but I want you to at least be able to find the podcast in your feed next week since it will look so different. We've had the same one for 3 seasons, and it was time for a refresh. So look for a purple square with 2 yellow line drawn feet next to a white microphone made of the letters QRQJ, which has a swirly little pink heart coming out of the top of it. You'll know it when you see it. It's a super cute cover with our clever new mic logo designed by our editor, Lay. Lay also made some very sexy, joyful, queer images that I'm splashing all over our Instagram. Follow us at queer_relationships_queer_joy. All right, back to the show.
And there is this beautiful poem, Joy and Sorrow. It's one of my favorites. And it talks about holding both joy and sorrow and actually the balance and the two sides of the coin without sorrow, not experiencing joy, without joy, not experiencing sorrow. So it's really lovely. And so this new person I'm dating asked me about it. And I'll say I'm still very vulnerable, but it's a very much a therapy technique if anyone has done EMDR out there. And what I've done is created this beautiful box for them in my mind full of Disneyland stuff because their happy place is like water, rivers, Disneyland, cats. So I've created this whole image of like they can go to a river, but there's like Disneyland stuff, and then there's cats. Even more so, not when I'm necessarily with the person, but definitely when I'm prepping to like getting ready to do something with somebody, I I start thinking about them, and so I put them in their lovely container,
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
leave them outside my home, my little spots, and then go on my merry way. And and that's the technique I use consistently. I just put them back, put them back.
Yeah, I love that, and I like that you're getting into the practical, so what do we do about it? Because I think when it can be problematic to be going through these or feel problematic to be going through these kinds of transitions simultaneously is when it feels like one experience is leaking into the other one more than we would like.
Yeah.
So the container is a beautiful way to do that. And part of that, I think, I've had clients who have done some EMDR and use the container, but then come back like after session and be like, it didn't all stay. And like, I
Yeah.
mean, part of that is the container is not a vault where it goes and you never come back to it. We have to make
Yeah.
space to be with it, you know? And I would say that specifically about the grief, I think more of us might be inclined to try and avoid hard feelings, but like make space for your grief about relationship transitions that are hard and
Yeah.
actually be with it. Like whether that's looking through old pictures or photos. I mean, for me, like going through the divorce, I've probably said this before, but like music was my number one resource. And I mean, God love Adele, like, oh, her songs really hit home.
Pops up on my cell phone all the time, the I Missed You song. I'm like, why is this in my phone? And why do you keep popping up? I hate you. What are you
Yeah. Yeah, totally. No, that like when we were young is just that song. I literally would play
Uh,
that song and just like I couldn't sing it. I was just bawling too much. But like that was how I would sit. One of the ways I would sit with my grief and I would play that
yeah.
song and I would then breathe and, wash my face and like drink some water and rehydrate, and then like you said, getting ready for a date. The song that would not be the song playing. Now I'm switching
Yeah.
music. Now I'm like putting on a cute outfit. Now I'm looking at the sexy texts I got. I'm getting all excited. So there is a way to make space for each so that you're not feeling like you're flooded by both at the same time.
Yeah, and I think and there is and this goes our favorite term, boundaries. With the new person I'm hanging out with that I'm dating, we talk about it, but I really pay attention because I want them to know, but I don't wanna spend a lot of time talking about this other person.
Mhm.
And I mean, that may be also intricately part of our slow down process of recognizing the place that I'm at and the types of activities we're engaging in, but there is an open dialogue about it.
Yeah.
And I'm really being selective of how much I talk about with them, how much I talk about with other people. The person who I'm actively involved in the relationship transition, I did a couple weeks ago, we had been doing the friendship thing. And then after the Thorns game this weekend, I realized I'm really sad. And guess what? Even as a non monogamous person, taking a week break from a human doesn't mean we can't be friends, but it means I need some space
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
really, for me, the space represented that I was just feeling so many big feelings. And every time I hung out with them, we were processing.
Yeah. That's a
And
lot of
that's not
processing.
transition. Yeah, that's not, I mean, for me, if we're transitioning to friendship, it's like, what are friends? What do you identify as a friend or what do you think of as a friend? It's not processing old relationship constantly.
Well, and
And
even as we're saying, like new relationships can blossom and we can navigate these transitions, the previous feelings don't just fall away because we decided
no,
we're going to be in a different kind of
no,
relationship.
no.
Yeah,
And
sometimes
that
we
was
do
the
get that.
problem. And that was the thing is that and that doesn't mean everyone is like that, but it took a little bit of time because I was thinking, oh, I'm not monogamous. We do these relationship transitions. I got this. And when I was sat and was real with myself and really identified the feelings that were coming up, I did it for myself. And I was very clear with them. I said, I'm taking space for myself.
Yeah.
It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with like, I still have these big feelings for you, and this is more than friend feelings, and I need
Yeah.
to sort those out.
Totally. There's not a timeline for that either. The other thing that feels relevant, I know I talked a little bit about my divorce before, but my current local partner is somebody who I was dating when I first moved here to Portland. And then we went through a relationship transition in the end of January of 2021, where for various reasons, again, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the, reasons why we needed to move very rapidly and unexpectedly into friendship. And I'm a slower processing type person. And I remember him saying like, I still want to be friends with you. And I like looked at him and I was like, I'm in love with you. Like, I can't just be friends with you. It's gonna take
Yeah.
me time. I need to actually just like not talk to you for a while, and I'm so proud of myself for naming that and naming what I needed, even though I didn't want to name that. I wanted to just be like, yeah, be my friend. I wanted to see this person as much as I could. But I'm so glad that I did name what I needed. We're able to establish a friendship. It did feel different. And for context, like I grieved that relationship for like a full year, you
Yeah.
know? And then ironically, it's like right when I feel like I've reached some level of acceptance, about a year and a half after we broke up, he came back into my life in a romantic way. So, but where we are now, I think is so much more stable and positive because we didn't just try and become friends in a way that would have felt disingenuous to where I was emotionally. Like we really let it
Yeah.
have that time. And I did have new relationship beginnings happening. And I mean, those people could tell you I was talking about this dude. Like I was still grieving so strongly for so long. But again, you can do both. You can be excited about new relationships and still be honestly moving through a process of grief and transition in other ones.
Yeah, and it really feels like, I mean, I'm now 42 and really feeling that kind of like midlife, like, oh, reflecting on my past and thinking about my future in a very sometimes pragmatic, practical way. And I just recently lost an aunt and uncle. And it seems to me that as I get older, even outside of sexual and romantic relationships, having this feeling of joy and sorrow consistently through the week or through the month, definitely through the year, is just something that is part of our cycle of living as humans. And it didn't, I had loss and grief, really intense loss and grief in my mid 30s. And then since then, it's just more and more. And I was actually joking with one of one of our staff members because they were like, "Oh, it's my last wedding to go to." They're in their 20s. And I was like, "Oh, enjoy those weddings because guess what? I go to way more funerals than I do to weddings at this point.
Yeah.
It's such a different life." And so I think that reflecting on that in this time of introspection of the season,
Mhm.
that these are parts of bigger pictures, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes that can be helpful to find some meaning and find and thinking about the bigger picture of joys in life and sorrows in life. And I really think about, because I have had such deep sorrows, had big losses in my life, losing people, dying. In those moments, in my moments of joy, they're just so sparkly.
Mhm.
They just stand out so much because, and I really am present for those moments because they come when they come. You can plan them sometimes, but even if best intentions of planning a big sparkly event that's joyful and then you get COVID or then you get like sick kid. So like,
You're making it real.
yes, right there.
Yeah. 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 It's true. It's true. I am all about gratitude for even the small moments, the small connections, and certainly when those new romantic, whether it's romantic or friendships come in, having that context from grief and loss can help us embrace even more, more authentically, more fully when we do find those people.
And something else I thought of that really keys into this is, with these changing dynamics with other people, is coming back to ourselves. And so you mentioned the basic, self-care basic needs of hydrating, nourishing, resting, and then also centering within ourselves our own power, like our own sense of self, that there's always constant change going on, and relationships, even long-term relationships, whether friendships or romantic and sexual, ebb and flow. There's this
Right.
ebb and flow and so having coming back to ourselves. And when I think about coming back to myself, it ties in with the episode we had a couple weeks ago. Coming back to myself is, what are the things that bring me pleasure and what brings me joy? What, you mentioned, Melissa, for you, music,
Yeah.
finding those pieces, really coming back to ourselves. And even more important, because folks who are non-monogamous or polyamorous and juggling multiple, just so many relationships, having that space, yes, having space for grief, having space for joy, having space for self, and connecting with what brings you pleasure within yourself.
Yeah. We get to be the constant for ourselves, even when everything else is ebbing and flowing. Not that we don't ebb and flow too, we change.
Oh, oh yeah.
But when you say coming back to self too, I mean, clients, especially now, there's something about the season changing. I'm having people go back to your values. Like, you can look up on Google value sort and find a couple different versions of ways to sort through some cards about your values. What do you care about? What's important to you? Like you said, what brings you pleasure? What brings you joy? Those are the things that are the ways to come back to self when everything else feels like it's changing. When because what happens is relationships shift and then we feel like we've lost ourselves or a
Yeah.
part of ourselves. And
Yes.
it's not true. It's just that person brought something out in us that now we have to nurture and figure out, how do we want to still honor that part?
You said that very well, and I want to repeat it because it's been said, worded that before, is when you are grieving the loss of a relationship, look at that part. What did that person bring out? And how can you develop that in yourself?
Right.
And how can you nurture that or be attuned to that part of what that person brought out in you?
Yeah. The other thing that feels just important to name because of our topic today is that the amount of time a relationship lasts is not the marker of a quote unquote good relationship. That's what the, our mainstream culture will tell you. You have to be in a relationship forever and ever and ever, and that's a successful relationship. No, some relationships are not meant to last forever and ever in our lives. We can embrace when they come in, what they bring, and when they leave, we can be grateful for what we had. And then again, find those pieces that need nourishing within ourselves and also make new connections and have new experiences with new people.
Yeah. Continuing to develop. Well, that seems like a good shifting to, now that this topic, we could continue with this topic and may revisit it again another day, but some time for a queer joy.
Queer joy. I'm real excited about this one.
I think well, do you want to go first or do you want to save it for the end?
I'm happy to go first.
Okay.
I'll go first.
Okay.
And I'm gonna name what the queer joy is, but I will be a little bit vague and ambiguous about some of the specifics just because it's a creative project that I don't have the license to like just let everything out. But many of my very close friends are super creative. We met in undergrad, all musical theater kids. And one of my friends had a job, come to his attention that he just wasn't creatively inspired to do. And so sends me a text message randomly over last weekend being like, hey, like there's this band. They need some choreography for a music video they're going to do. Do you want to throw some like zombie choreography together? And I choreography, and so I was like, it was like, yeah, like Thriller style. I'm like, oh, this sounds fun. I have not. Being a dancer was before musical theater for me. That's what like got me into musical theater originally. So that's very much my background in history,
Yeah.
which is where a lot of my injuries come from. But I have not choreographed anything in like 13 years or something like that. Just not. So, and also I have like trying to film something to send out to people. I have a studio apartment. So
Goodness.
I
Yeah.
literally spent the day like moving furniture so that I had one blank wall and like a little bit of floor space. Fortunately, this isn't like a hardcore dance choreo. It's, some choreography for people who are primarily non-dancers, but it was so much fun. My cats were freaked both because of like the zombie moves and because of the furniture being completely like in disarray. But I had so much fun. Oh my God. And you've talked about this before, Keely, like taking breaks with creativity. When you're a creative person, finding creative outlets in lots of different forms. Like, again, I haven't choreographed anything in years, but doing this dance number, now my music is like flourishing again. Like it makes so many other parts of my creativity light up. So
Mhm.
I'll give more specific details if and when they keep the choreography. We're going to be filming the music video in a couple nights here. So I'll update you all, but that was definitely my queer joy in the last week.
So fun. Well, that ties in so well with my queer joy because so I haven't been to a house party. I don't even know how long. And so this new person I'm dating, I went to this house party. They invited me. And of course, in all the queerness, it was a party with one of their exes. I now have met two of their exes already,
Making the rounds.
making the rounds. And they had a karaoke machine set up. And there was a person who was dressed as a octopus. And so, not having practiced at all, I was inspired to sing Poor Unfortunate Souls on karaoke.
Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. I wish I had been there for that moment.
I was very proud of myself because being a musical background similar to you, I've done choir and I'm actually in the Portland Lesbian Choir. Like I come from a history of like reading music and being like perfectly practiced. And I was very impressed with my improvisation skills. Thank you, 7 to 10-year-old Keely, who was obsessed with that musical. I know every word to every song. So yay, young memory. And I want to just add to that the other piece, because this is so poly and I haven't quite experienced. So at the same party, I met someone and we're talking and we're wearing the same we're both witches, wearing the same hat but different color, chatting for like 5 minutes, find out we both are theater undergrads. Then so we chat for a while. Then I went and did the song and my back started hurting. So I was like, I gotta go. But luckily, because the first time dating, they're super chill and they don't have to like leave with me. They can just chill and be autonomous in their own being.
Yeah.
And as I'm leaving, she was like, hey, did you get that person's number? And I was like, no, I was going to, but I got mixed up. So I get home and within 30 minutes, there's this group text with the person I'm dating, this other human and me, and figuring out how we can all go to karaoke.
That's amazing. That's some real good queer joy right there. That's queer poly joy.
Exactly. I have never been to a party and both of us get a number of somebody and it's not, it's left open. TBD, who knows, but we do have a friend date on Wednesday. So
Amazing. We will stay tuned for more updates.
yes. So that's it for today. Always love that we, are so emotional. So I love that we always get to end with queer joy because, I can transition out of here. We appreciate all of you listening. Please, please, please send us thoughts, comments, feedback, maybe ideas of future topics. Otherwise, I hope you all have a queer and joyful week.
Thanks for listening to Queer Relationships, Queer Joy, a podcast by the Connective Therapy Collective. Hosted by Keely C. Helmick and Melissa DeSegurant, with audio edited by Lei Supapo Bernito. I'm your producer, Cardinal Marking. Intro music is by Bad Snacks. If this episode made you smile or think, tell us about it. If you hated it, tell us about that. Review us on iTunes or Spotify. Or send us an email at media@connectivetherapycollective.com. For more queer joy, visit our website at www.connectivetherapycollective.com. Love ya. Bye.